Christopher, what's happening, man?
Not much, man. We're just shooting the shit, obviously, before we jumped on. So feeling good. How are you?
Not too bad. My light just went off. What's going on here? Ah, there we go. Not too much, bro. Just a nice cruisy morning. Got my coffee.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
ready to
bro.
go. Got a lot
Just
to
wake
talk
up.
about. What's been happening?
Not much. Just a lot of assessment for uni. Got three athletes competing in the next few weeks. So obviously, the daily grind, the great daily check-ins, body weight. Making adjustments to sort of ensure everyone brings their best. But yeah, excited, excited. It's going to be like pretty much 4 weekends of shows back to back, which is pretty cool. I haven't had that many shows to in quite a long time, so it'll be good.
So we got Queensland.
We got Queensland's, yep.
Yep.
So we got obviously Big Troy.
Let's
Uh,
put some pictures up actually.
I actually sent you some this morning
Yeah,
of
I
it.
saw that.
He's looking real good.
Multiple participants considered. Okay, let's do share. Mm. Can you see my screen?
No, I cannot.
Ah, here we go. Uh, this is Mr. Troy.
Yeah, so this is Troy. He's currently like 3 weeks out from the IFBB Queensland Championships, and then another 2 weeks on to the Nationals. So yeah, he's looking good. He's looking peeled. Is yeah, we're just probably waiting on just a little bit, I think, more to pull off like the lower ab and midsection, and probably just a touch more off the lower back. But the photos I sent you this morning, like he's really tightened up. You know what I mean? Like over the last couple of days in particular.
Looking
And
good.
he's actually got some wheels on him as well, so I'm gonna get him to send me a picture of his glutes. I wouldn't mind seeing him like, before he finishes up with bodybuilding, do like a season where we focus on maybe bringing the legs up and just do like men's masters classic.
Yep.
So he's 47, so he's
Phenomenal.
yeah looking amazing.
Yeah, he's definitely tightened up over the since you last sent me pictures.
Yeah,
Even in
that
the
whole
back.
back. And just the
Just not
detail, like
all back, but there's more detail now. The This is just all tightened up even more.
yeah.
He's looking very good. So, sorry, how long has he got? 2 weeks.
So probably, yeah, well, I guess another 2 weeks of dieting and then obviously into peak week.
Hmm.
So and that's only until show one. And obviously then we can, get a bit more feedback and refine things for another couple of weeks. And then obviously we've got the nationals. So last show he did, he came third in the Masters at nationals.
Yep.
So obviously the goal over the last 2 years is, really just been to improve and, put on as much tissue in between then. And look, I think he's probably in better condition now than when he was at nationals, which is crazy because I think his weight was like the low 87s at nationals, and at the moment he's like the mid to high 92s. So
Yeah.
that's like 5 kilos of difference of actual tissue. You know what I mean? Because he's obviously leaner.
He's leaner
Uh,
now. Yeah.
he's leaner now than what he was at nationals. So that's minimum 5 kilos of actual muscle mass over like a 2 year period, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. I think he's going to do very well, and I think he's made a ton of progress since last show. And the main things is just his shape has completely changed. He was a lot more up and down last show.
Yeah, we really put a big focus on like particularly through the top line. So
Yeah.
shoulders in particular, shoulders, arms to really sort of bring out that, men's physique taper. And look, also a heavy focus on abs because I feel like
Mm.
his abs, he always had nice abs, but they weren't fully developed. And then I think as well, sometimes when you do diet down, if you're not training the abs with enough direct stimulus, they can fade away a little bit, just like any other muscle group. So I think particularly in a division like men's physique, I think that having ab and core work in is super important. But it's really just he's got like a really nice V taper now, and even from the back, it's sort of nice and he starts nice and wide, and he sort of comes into that sort of X frame shape that we all want to try and present on stage, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think he's going to do very well. Other honorable mention. We'll go to
Oh, Big C Shan,
Big C Shan. Transformation of the week for sure.
he looks
20
awesome, man.
kilos down. What an
Yeah,
effort, man.
Like, yeah, honestly, his face just he just looks like it's crazy just what's like to see what you look like once you take off a bit of body fat, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like even
He
in his
looks like an
face,
old
like,
man in his 50s here.
yeah, like he just looks so much, even if you take away like from the head down, he just looks so much more better looking as
Yeah,
well. Just
100%.
having a little bit less body fat. Well,
Younger, better looking, a lot more vibrance to him, isn't there?
just looks like a completely new man. And he's he's a funny story because his dad was actually a good bodybuilder. I'm pretty sure he said over in India.
Oh, really?
So yeah, he's obviously his father, he saw that sort of growing up and stuff too. So, potentially an avenue that because you can see he does actually have quite decent genetics because he's not been training seriously for all that long. You know what I mean? Like maybe like a year, but
Yeah.
you can see the development that he's already got sort of through his chest, shoulders, and arms. Even that's throughout an entire fat loss phase. He's put on, a significant amount of muscle mass. You know what I mean? So it's crazy to see what he's going to be able to do now that we're actually in a bit of a building phase and focus on putting on some muscle.
So this is 15 months.
Yeah.
And what did the the fat loss, was it a fat loss phase for the entire time? What did you do?
No, so it wasn't like the entire duration. We had like multiple weeks where, I think when you are taking off a sizable amount of body fat,
Mhm.
it's very, very challenging to do that in one go.
What does he weigh now?
He is 60, I think he's back up to 71 at the moment, but he got down as low as 68. His
So
highest
basically
weight was
what
like 108.
there's 100. So he almost took 50%. He took 40% of his body weight off.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Dude, that's insane.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people too like, they drastically underestimate how much they probably have to take off to get into reasonable shape, I think, because often people think they carry more muscle mass than what they do. They're just like, because even for him, like we took off 10 kilos, there really wasn't much to show. You know what I mean? Like it's not until you start to get down to 20 kilos off, 30 kilos off, 35 kilos off, where you really start to notice a lot of the fruits of your labor. Because even though the scale is going down, when you are still carrying so much body fat, it can be very difficult to assess. Like obviously his waist measurement and things were going down, but visually it's not like he's looking at himself thinking that he's changing, you know what I mean, every
Yeah.
single week. So it's just yeah, I
That's
think a bit.
that's I think that's very demotivating as well. Like when you're that
Oh, it can
big,
be. Yeah.
it's like fuck, you lose 10 kilos, which is a fantastic effort.
Mm.
But then it's like you look in the mirror, you're like, I look exactly the same, bro.
Especially if you don't have a coach to guide you through the process. You would just be
Yeah.
like, well, I've lost 10 kilos, but I look exactly the same. Like, what's going on?
It's very, I feel like, I mean, because it's for someone that big, it's already going to be such a hard thing to do to change the habits and everything. And then, yeah, if you get 10 kilos down the road and fuck, I've put in so much work
Yeah.
to get off this 10 kilos, and then you kind of look in the mirror and you look exactly the same. It can be, I can see how that would be very demotivating.
Oh, 100.
Yeah, having a coach there to kind of guide you through that and who understands what, you will look like at different amounts of weight off is a big help. So what was his mindset through this whole thing? Like, dude,
He
losing
was good, man, to be honest. Like he
40% of
just
your weight is massive, dude.
yeah, look, I think with him, he just sort of put all his trust in me,
Mm,
and obviously my ability to get the job done. Because even when the changes were not like he wasn't feeling like the changes were occurring, right? But
yeah,
and then I like every sort of 10 weeks or so, I would refer back to say 10 weeks ago, and he's like, holy fuck, like I didn't realize how much we'd actually taken off.
yeah,
So it's like sometimes you need to have that larger time frame because if you're just assessing the progress week to week, especially if you're losing sizable chunks of weight and you have a lot of fat to lose, you're not really going to be noticing those changes come into the fold. And like I said, even though it was an extended time frame that we were dieting for, not every week we were in a deficit. You know what I mean? Like every sort of 8 to 10 weeks or so, we would either do multiple high days or we would do like a full week at refeed.
mm,
Sometimes 2 weeks, depending on obviously he might have got sick once or twice. He might have had things on with work. So we were just trying to manage obviously the stress load of everything to ensure that he was able to get there because, like I said before, it can be very difficult to take all of that off in one go. So I think having those periods where they're sort of intermittent, where you're not focusing necessarily on losing weight or losing fat for that week is really, really important.
yeah. And in terms of his own compliance, was there times where he slipped up or
Never,
never?
never. No.
Wow.
So, and I think that's
Yeah.
something that I do pretty well. Is I set because I look to be fair, I don't feel like a lot of my clients have compliance issues. I don't know if that just comes across in the way that I coach or like my personality towards them, but it's uncommon. It's more uncommon than not that people will. maybe it's just the way that I set up the plan. I try and put a lot of effort into, selecting foods and making foods, taste pretty good, and making sure they have education around how to make food taste good. Because, you can make the most bland dish taste pretty good if you add some seasoning to it and you put a bit of, low calorie sauce or, things like that. And also you have enough food volume to sustain you. I think that you can follow something that is quite easy. It's not going to really, break the bank necessarily calorie wise, but it's still pretty tasty.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think I'm the same. Like I don't compliance for a lot of my clients are very similar. Like
Yeah.
very rarely, unless it's like something
You'll always have those couple, you know what I mean? Like
special or
you'll
something.
always have those few people, but I think in those instances, they're sort of the people that are maybe not at the point in their journey where they're really ready.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
not really ready to commit to the goal. Like if you get someone that's committed to the goal, like I'm pretty confident that we could both get them there.
yeah, 100%. Well, I'm keen to see what I mean. 15 months of dieting, and he looks like that.
Yeah.
It's a long period of time. Ah, man, I just want to see him in like even just 6 weeks with a bit more food
Yeah.
because I think he'll be looking yeah, completely different, just filled out a little bit, and then beyond there, I mean, yeah, who knows how good he's going to look. So, no, that's fantastic. What about other competitors coming up?
Yeah. So we've got Cassidy as well, or Castetics on Instagram.
Shout
um,
out.
she's a gem. She's a legend. So
Well, that's
I believe she's 4 or 5 weeks out. So she's coming up pretty quick to the ICN. Did I send you some photos of her as well?
I'll check her Instagram.
Well, there's one on mine of like her transformation from over the couple of weeks. But yeah, you can bring up her page as well.
Cass.
No, she's doing really well. So CAS
Yep.
um
Aesthetics.
CASTH
Yep.
ET
Yep.
ICSS. Yeah,
Nice.
that's it. Yeah, she's pretty funny. She's a legend there too. So this was 5 weeks out. So this was obviously when she was 61, 13th of June. So that was obviously quite a few weeks in between. But I think this was like this was like a week ago. So she's tightened up a lot even since then as well. So she's actually only 18. So
2018.
she's 18. Yeah, yeah. So she's still quite young. So obviously a lot of potential as
Got a
well.
lot
So
of muscle
she's
for an 18-year-old man.
yeah, she's competing in ICM, so just for her first season. So yeah, and then obviously we have aspirations to move into the IFBB. But yeah, she's getting pretty close. There's still obviously just a little bit more fat to pull off, and she just come off the back of a couple of high days there as well. But she's certainly starting to look the part now. So yeah, she's looking good.
She looks fantastic, man. Fucking 18 years old.
Yeah, that's what I said to her. Like I was like, I don't see a lot of 18-year-olds, that look like you. So it's and carry, that sort of amount of muscle mass. And really, she's probably only been training seriously for like a year.
Insane.
And a lot of that time she was just training by herself, you know what I mean? So yeah, she's done pretty well. She's looking pretty good.
You know what I always say, Chris, to you? There's something in the water out there, and
I told you, bro, in North Queensland, there's something
there's just
there's
something
something
in the
up here.
water in there that just makes them build more muscle than us people in Melbourne, Sydney, and shit like that. Well, it's just
That's a good picture,
I think it's
actually.
just the relaxed lifestyle, bro.
Yeah, bro, how much muscle I put on since I moved back up here?
Yeah, true. True. You guys have got nothing to stress about, bro. Just chilling.
Yeah.
No, not a worry in the world.
We
Anyone
got
else?
then we got Big Jake as well doing classic.
Oh yeah, let's have a look
Uh,
at Greg.
so yeah, Ricky's Mr. Physique Factory.
Yeah, let's have a look. Big Jakey boy, he's massive too.
Finch. So this was 5 days ago. So
Yep.
he's looking good as well. So yeah, so he's just got a little bit left to try and pull off. And again too, I think he's going to be looking
He's
pretty damn good,
phenomenal.
come show day as well. So a lot of size, a lot of mass. We're just obviously trying to pull in a little bit more, through the glutes, the hamstrings, and just tighten up a little bit more. So yeah, we'd like to probably take off another kilo, two, one and a half, probably 2 kilos, just to really make sure that we're getting everything come in. But yeah, a little bit more to come off. But obviously he's looking good, looking really nice as well.
He looks awesome. Yeah, the legs are just insane.
That was from his last prep. So you can even
Like,
see how much size he's added from his last prep to now. Like he
yeah,
looks massive.
you can see that uh, pretty much just gain size everywhere, especially
Yeah.
on here as well. You can see here like this is like
Like
really
lats from the
changed.
front and like the
Yeah.
chest, shoulders, and arms, like really
He's
improved.
created a better kind of X frame.
Yeah, big time.
Legs are popping a little bit more, lats are popping a little bit more, shoulders are popping, and it's all just improved the look drastically.
Yeah, so we're really hammering him in now. So yeah, he sent me some more photos this morning, and he's just continued to tighten up. So he's just come off the back of a couple of days refeeding, just to sort of get digestion a bit of a reset and get ourselves ready for what needs to be done over this next sort of I guess 20 odd days. But yeah, no, he's going to come in nicely as well. So just has to keep his head on and just keep things moving forward.
Good work, Jakey. Well done, man. All right, shall we get into our topic for today?
Get into the topic.
Today we're going to be talking about the Hugh Jackman Wolverine Deadpool transformation, natty or not, exposed episode. So
So, I mean, you said you hadn't seen the movie, but I've seen the movie, and
I haven't seen the movie. I've just seen photos, and I've seen the other movies. So I think, look, we'll talk about obviously this movie because it's the most recent one, but I think just if we look at the Wolverine transformation as a whole as well. Because what when did was Wolverine what 10 years
oh,
since
honestly, the first one was probably nearly
15
50,
years?
20 years ago, I think.
Yeah, okay.
It was a while.
So
And I think that's an important topic as well, because if we're going to be assessing and exposing whether someone's natty or not,
yeah,
one of the things that we both look at is, well, what do they look like when they were younger, and how much progression have that we seen over that sort of 15-year time span, Because if they look pretty similar, then there's a high likelihood that they may be natural. So it's
well, what do you think the general consensus is from the people? Do you think
the
most
general consensus is from the people is everyone that looks decent is on steroids.
or better than
Like
them?
like anyone that is better than them, like you could just literally go onto any Instagram feed of anyone who claims natural, and there's quite a few guys that that I know that look phenomenal, and maybe world champion natural bodybuilders, things like that, who look amazing, right? And the whole consensus is just on the feed, drugs. What's the steroid stack? What's the cycle? Like that's literally all you will see. It's just like time and time and time again. It's like people will think that nothing can be achieved naturally, and that every single person that has a good physique is using something.
Yeah, and the reason I wanted to talk about this topic is number one, I mean, the movie just came out, but I've had a few people ask me what I thought about it, and I had only seen the really touched up CGI
Yeah.
photos. Um, but once I did a little bit of digging into like, yeah, him at a younger age, the timeline and how much he's gained through the timeline, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's not that impressive. Do you know what I mean? I think we've
And
had
what I can
that
tell
have
you
done
from
better
seeing the
work.
movie as well is, like, when you watch Deadpool Wolverine, and they saved the scene until right at the very end, right? So we won't. I don't know if you haven't seen the movie or not, but everyone's probably seen it by now. There's one scene where they're sort of right at the end, and him and fucking Deadpool, they have to like sort of they're holding each other like this, and they're connected to something as they're going.
Yeah,
Then they're trying to like obviously save fucking everyone, and everyone knows they got the regenerative sort of capabilities and stuff. But then all his shirt like rips off, right? And like you can see that one scene
yeah,
is like so touched up in terms of CGI. It's crazy. Like, not to say he doesn't have a good physique, but at the same time, it's so CGI'd. And as soon as I looked at it, I was like, oh shit, there's a lot of CGI in that. Like that's the immediate like reaction that you feel from it.
yeah. So we'll pull up some. Let's pull up some info. So let's start with this photo.
Yeah, I love this photo. I think it's a really good representation of what a bit of CGI can potentially do, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. Look, that was 2000 versus 2024. That's 24 years ago.
Yeah. So you can see here before photo. This is movie number one,
Yeah. Year 2000,
year 2000. So yeah,
24 years
24 years
ago.
ago. Fuck me. And that's was he getting flack for it at that stage, or no one was disputing the natty status, his natty card there, were there?
I don't think that people really back in the 2000s really knew, or just because of the prevalence of social media. And I think that obviously the prevalence of steroid use over the years has gotten more and more accepted. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like now everyone thinks everyone's using something. But back then, I don't even think it was like in people's minds that, oh, even like say Arnold Schwarzenegger or like Sylvester Stallone, I don't even think that they were thinking, oh, these guys are using something. You know,
Yeah.
it just wasn't like a real spoken about thing back then. They're just like, oh, I want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that. You know, when he's in like, um, what did he play? What was his like main role? Did he wasn't Hercules? Was he Hercules? No, he wasn't Hercules.
He
Anyway,
was.
there's one of those roles where he's you know, obviously really, really ripped and shredded, and even like Louis Ferrigno as the Hulk, like, you know, all those scenes sort of back then, like it just wasn't even something people thought about, I feel.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't in the mainstream as much, like steroid use and stuff like that. But 2000 version of him, I mean, he just, I mean,
You look at that photo, right? The 2000 version. What do you think?
I think it's average.
I think he just looks like a regular dude.
Yeah,
Like it's
pretty much.
not crazy. Like if you look at like the development through like his chest is still a bit of a weaker body part.
Yeah.
Obviously his, you know, got a bit of muscle there through the shoulders and maybe the biceps, but like if you're looking at this and comparing it to like any of the like even just some of the natural bodybuilders and stuff that we've even put on stage in the past, like it's pretty subpar to be honest,
Yeah,
right?
I feel like they didn't do as much like work on him as well in this first one. Like, there's no tan, there's no lighting, there's no shadows, there's no like he's actually in bad lighting there as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Like not bad lighting, but just honest lighting.
Yeah.
Whereas like you see a photo like this,
And
and
you're
it's
like,
like,
oh my God.
what the fuck? It's like he's on steroids, but it's just like shadows.
Yeah, I think he definitely is
Yeah.
maybe leaner there as well, like
Oh, way
substantial.
leaner. Yeah, yeah, way leaner as well. How do I go back to the old one? Shit. Oh, there it is. So I like this. I really like this picture because this is a picture that it looks to me like it's taken like he's getting kind of he's under like lights, but the camera that's meant to be taking it, it's coming from another source. Like he's probably
Yeah,
getting his photo taken there where the light would be good, but someone's taken a photo of him on set in another angle where the lighting is kind of not favorable.
he looks a bit oiled up as well.
And you can see he's like getting ready to look like this. Do you know what I mean? But it's the effects and the photo isn't done right in this kind of angle on this angle.
Yeah,
So it's a much more honest view of what he actually looks like.
mm. Yeah,
And I don't think he's on anything.
yeah. I agree. Like if he was on something, then like my God, he's doing something wrong because like that just looks like a like you would like he's placing last at any natural bodybuilding show. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
he's not really in even on the beach. Like he would just look like a regular dude. Like he's not like I think it's really important information that we see what he looked like in the 2000s as well, because, you know, even sort of comparing those photos,
yeah.
like if you were to guess in terms of how much actual muscle mass he's put on between, you know, in 24 years, right, between these two pictures, do you think it's a substantial amount?
Not a substantial amount, no. He's put on some muscle. Like
No, that's what I mean. Obviously,
I think the majority of the change has been made because he's just gotten leaner.
yeah,
And we talk about this all the time in content and stuff like that, and even with our clients that are coming on board. It's like if you want to look bigger and you want to look better in every single way,
yeah.
get leaner. You just need to
You
take
can
off
clearly
body
see,
fat. You
right?
don't need
Like
to add size.
there's no abs on the photo on the left, and now he's dieted to a level of condition where he has a visible six pack, and just how much, and he may even weigh lighter on the photo on the right.
Oh, I reckon for sure he would. For
Yeah.
sure he would. What body fat percentage do you think he's at?
Oh, he's 12 to 15.
Yeah, I would say 15.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here?
I would say he's definitely sub 10
Yeah, yeah, I would
at
agree.
that point.
It's a big difference, man. So, yeah, I mean, what would he weigh 90, 85 kilos here, you reckon? He's got no legs as well. Like his legs are
Yeah,
quite
that's you got to take factor that in because legs obviously can add a bit. Do you know how tall he is?
uh we can find out. What's the K?
Oh, so he's 6'2", so he'd probably be well, you could probably look at his weight as well, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would say that he's probably heavier than what he looks just because he's 6'2". So he could
90?
even be like 90 kilos.
And here, I reckon he's way lighter there, bro.
Way lighter, maybe 5 kilos lighter, maybe seven.
And especially because we're about to go into the peak that he went through for the scene.
Yeah.
Especially with that peak, I think there's another few kilos there.
with
What
the with the dehydration methodology that super secret protocol that they employed.
shall we get into that?
Yeah, let's
All right, so
break
this is
it down
this is
piece
an
by
interview done on the Graham Norton show. So he's just covering what he did.
Takes the shirt off, you're still in quite the condition.
He looks good there too. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah, I'll go to the gym. I'll look like that. And describe like the lead up to a day when you know you're filming a shirt off scene.
Well, yeah, there's a thing called dehydration. So do not try this at home, but you can lose up to 10 pounds which is 4 kilos of weight on your surface. Like, so all of this under here is water. So you drink a lot of water for a week, getting up to maybe 10 liters a day. And then you stop about 30 hours before you film. And so for the next 10 hours, you're just peeing constantly because you've been drinking, so your body's used to it. And then all this water is going in. You have like a half a baked potato and a few other things that could suck water from the inside. And then it's kind of not fun, but the results end up being pretty good.
so I was just reading the first comment to the right-hand side here, which is, ha ha ha, pull the other one, Jackman. Why don't you bloody admit that apart from hard training to give that much muscle, that you're also juiced up? And it's so typical because the dude's profile photo is literally of a car. Like
Yeah, of
that's
course, bro.
it's just like
That's what it always is, or like like a fish that they've caught or something.
or it'll just be a photo of like some random dude's kids. It's not even pictures of him, you know what I mean?
Bro, it's fucking that's how it always is. So what do you think about that?
So I think when obviously utilizing dehydration, like obviously it's quite a common practice within bodybuilding, right?
Yep.
Particularly enhanced bodybuilding, because one of the things that we see obviously with like a water cut is it actually leads to, in some cases, more water retention because you're driving up things like aldosterone, and antidiuretic hormone, which obviously cause more water retention. So it's again, yes, you can lose a lot of weight, and I think that maybe it sort of makes up for a bit of a shortcoming in conditioning,
100%.
um, which
Sure.
is, I think, why a lot of people will use diuretics, right? Maybe they're not fully ready for a show, and I keep referring to bodybuilding because I think it's the most similar sort of strategy and practice that
Oh,
would
there's definitely
translate
parallels.
across.
Yeah.
But the reality is if you were actually in shape, you would not be wanting to do a water cut, right? Like, because at the end of the day, the more you cut water, you can obviously lead to water retention, but also you're not going to get that full hard dry look because at the end of the day, if you're in a position where you want to create your best physique for a shoot, or I've had multiple people that I've pitched for shoots over the years and stuff as well. We want to keep water stable and electrolytes stable, and also we want to have an influx of carbohydrates. So it's almost the direct opposite to what is actually going to get you into the best shape, because what happens when you cut water, you lose a significant amount of blood volume, and you obviously blood pressure goes down, so you're not really, and you have no fluid there to obviously push those carbohydrates around. So obviously in his instance here, he's probably not really doing like a carbohydrate load per se, simply because it sounds like he's just eating like a little bit of potato, right? Which is pretty low in carbohydrates, pretty high in potassium. But I think that strategy is definitely not the best in terms of getting yourself ready for a shoot or a show, because you're going to look very, very flat. And even when you're sort of pumping up, because you've got no carbohydrates in your system, you're very flat, you've got no water, likely there's been some manipulation of salt because you're not eating enough. You're not really going to be able to get much of a pump, and you're not going to be able to get that full, hard, dry, vascular look that you would if you were, peaking for you were about to step on stage at a bodybuilding show.
Yeah, 100%.
Particularly natural bodybuilding show.
Look, I think from my experience, there is some instances where doing a water cut can work for certain types of physiques.
Black guys.
Yeah, black guys mostly, and just people that just have that type of physique, that always full looking physique.
Yeah.
Then you can get a really good look from a water cut, I think, and it might even be beneficial. But this is I don't know why all of these celebrity coaches, it's like their methods that they use are from 1990.
Isn't it crazy that
And they've never progressed in knowledge since then or whatever, because they're just all such old school methods of getting people ready for photo shoots or whatever it is.
and it's
And
not just their old school. They are by far subpar.
yeah, it's
So
like
subpar. It's not even just oh, well, whatever works, right?
Yeah.
No, he could look 10 times better than what he does if he was to do things correctly.
I'm surprised he wasn't drinking distilled water, bro.
Probably was.
Way up
He wasn't drinking any water. He wasn't drinking any water.
That's right. Well, on the water load, he was probably drinking distilled water. But anyway, basically, to look your best for a certain day shoot, whatever it is, you want to get down to the level of body fat that you need first. Okay. So by the time you're a week out from when you need to take your shirt off, you already want to be looking like you could just do it right then.
Yeah. And I think that might be the problem here, right?
Yeah.
Is maybe that's not the case, is in they try and make up for a lot of the diet, the lack of fat loss.
Yeah.
In terms of maybe they've got 8 weeks to get ready for the show to try and give themselves a look where they're going to look better on the flatter side of things anyway, because they're carrying more body fat.
Yeah. And then they can use CGI to do the rest, I guess.
Yeah.
But the pump up. But well, he said he lost 4 kilos in the water cut. So anyway, so you want to be ready. Then you really want to be just in that last week. It's all about just getting as full as possible because you're already as lean as you need to be. So then the goal should be just to fill your body out to make it harder, look bigger, and by doing that, you actually look leaner because the muscles push up against the skin. And in order to do this, you need water, you need salt, and you need carbohydrates. You don't want to be cutting these things because yes, you might lose some water weight, but the end look is going to be super flat because you're not going to be able to get a pump.
Your muscle's going to have no.
There's no hydration to the muscle. So more modern methods of getting people ready for these things is not to cut water, especially from how long was it out? 40 hours or something?
It was 30 hours out.
That's over.
That is a long water cut.
That
is almost to the point where it's borderline dangerous,
Yeah. So if I was doing something like this, what I would do not a water load that much, but I just make sure that the person is drinking an adequate amount of water in the lead up. And then maybe on the day of the actual shoot, I'd still have them drinking water. I just wouldn't have them over consuming water. Okay. I'd wind the water back down, but with meals, I definitely get in some water, and just to keep them hydrated, but just so their stomach is not full of water.
Because you do need that little bit of water to still facilitate the uptake of those carbohydrates. So even those couple of meals that you might be having before you have the shoot, it's vital that you're consuming a little bit of fluid with that, because otherwise you will probably look a little bit softer, because without the water there, you've got nothing to push those carbohydrates around into, pushing them inside the muscle, which is where you want them.
100%. What I would do with the client on a show day or something is I just do a glass of water with every meal pretty much. That way, if they're getting on stage at 1 o'clock, they've probably had 2 or 3 meals up to that point. That's almost a liter of water. So they're going to be hydrated, but just not overly hydrated.
Yeah.
And I think that that works.
Because the more you fucking mess with water balance, like you're not smarter than your own body,
And the
right?
longer it is out as well. Like if you mess with water balance for 4 or 5 hours, you're probably going to get a better effect than if you go 30 hours because the bodies will just start to get
Yeah,
back to equilibrium on its own.
yeah.
It's quite smart like that. So the longer you try to do, if you try to do a 3 day water depletion or something like that, the end result is going to be terrible.
Oh, and we like we've seen this time and time again. Like I've known countless bodybuilders over the years who have cut water and look worse and worse and worse and worse. I'm flat. I can't get a pump, and it's the same thing over and over and over again. They get on stage and sort of just continue to fade, and they'll also be probably shaking when they're posing as well, simply for the fact that they're so depleted, and they're also electrolytes are depleted as well. So it's
And
just
then
not.
they get off stage and they eat and they drink some water and they look phenomenal.
Look phenomenal. They go out and have a burger or something with salt and a bit of fluid and some carbohydrates, and boom, next day they wake up and they're like, "Oh fuck, I wish I was competing today." Right? It happens every single time. I've seen that over the past sort of 15 years, and there's a reason the standard of like natural bodybuilding in particular has gone up and up and up and up every single year because people continue to get leaner, protocols continue to get more advanced, and there's new levels being found year after year, and it's these old school practices. Some people sort of swear and die by them. Which look, there's some things that do work. Whether working is going to be the best thing or not, it's not necessarily going to create the best look or the best outcome for that individual.
Yeah.
And I personally, I have never seen a water cut work with someone that is not like African American or of a darker skin complexion, right? Like I haven't really seen it because generally those are the individuals who can stay very, very full. And even from like a survival standpoint, if you're looking back, over the thousands and thousands of years, they would be, hunter and gatherers. They would go long periods probably without eating. So their bodies are work very, very efficiently at the amount of food and also, water that they're given. So they're the only ones that are really the people that respond well, the ones that have and maintain that level of muscle fullness, even when you start to pull the water out, because they just stay full.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's keep going with this video because there's more to it.
Again, do not try this.
Someone's getting married next year.
Yeah.
Just for the final push for the dress.
Yeah. But you will have a massive headache for the entire wedding.
No, you just feel awful. You must feel
bad.
terrible.
You feel bad and you have a headache.
Tell them about the meals. You standing on the set.
Yeah. You eat every 2 hours, and it's like 6,500 calories a day. So for me, it was a lot. And Mum, not your cooking either. Like steamed chicken and steamed broccoli.
That
Not
was
like
it?
your.
Wolverine's such a popular character.
Yeah.
Won't you feel just gutted if they recast and bring someone else as Ben Wolverine?
I think I'll be fine. I mean, look, if I wake up one day and I find out Daniel Day-Lewis is playing the part,
Okay. There's no more to that, is there?
What's that?
But there was no more after that?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay, so let's go bit by bit, yeah. 6,000 calories. No, sorry. Eating every 2 hours. Let's start there. Again, we're going back to the 1980s here, bro.
So I guess, eating every 2 hours, what are you really trying to achieve from that, right? Like I think when we're looking at, a window of muscle protein synthesis and we're trying to essentially get these multiple spikes over like a day, right? Is every 2 hours necessary? The answer is no, right? We really probably only need anywhere from 3 to 5, maybe. Most people probably going to do better on maybe like 4 or 5 meals. And that's over the course of a day because these synthesis windows are more like 3 to 5 hours. It's not like you need to be eating every 2 hours of every day because you just don't need that much, right? Like you're not going to notice an exponentially amount more progress from eating every 2 hours. And it's not like it revs up your metabolic furnace,
You think
right?
that's why they're doing it?
Yeah. Well, I think they think because they're eating every 2 hours that they're going to be metabolizing things faster. And at the end of the day, it's just going to come down to the total amount of calories that are consumed over the that 24-hour window, I guess, of how much is actually coming in.
So they think it's going to ramp up the thermic effect.
Yeah, they think it's going to ramp up the thermic effect of feeding because I guess, protein does have a pretty favorable thermic effect of feeding, but at the same time, that doesn't necessarily negate the calories that are coming in from
It's a
protein. They're
percentage of
still,
all calories rather than a
yeah,
yeah.
they're still 4 calories per gram, right? Like, no matter which way you slice it, the thermodynamics of what's happening here is it's still energy that's coming in.
Yeah.
So it's
So basically, like, say the average of across all the macros for thermic effect is like, say 15%, just to be as a round number for across all macros.
Yeah.
So protein's obviously more, whatever, and blah blah blah. So if you're eating 5,000 calories, then it's just going to be 15% of 5,000 calories. So it doesn't matter how you break up the meals, whether you eat every 2 hours, every 5 hours, whatever, you're still getting the same thermic effect from the food you eat. Even if you
Yeah.
had one meal, it's still going to be it's just the expense of digestion, assimilation, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and yeah, there's no real there's no real magic secret to it or no benefit to it. If you want to eat every 2 hours, you can. If you want to eat once a day, you can. But if the calories are equated, there's going to be zero difference in terms of fat loss.
Interesting. All right. 6,000 calories. So he's eating 6,000 calories of steamed chicken. Would you say steamed chicken?
Steamed chicken and broccoli.
Bro, I'm going to do the math on this, bro.
So I think while you do the math on that, just anyone that has eaten a sizable amount, right, who actually understands how to track food correctly, right?
Yeah.
So you understand how to track food correctly in MyFitnessPal or whatever, Chronometer, whatever other app you're using.
Chicken breast. Yeah.
That is just not even physiologically possible to probably eat that much with. No wonder he was fucking still losing weight, is because his guts were that fucked up. He was probably shitting water for like a sizable time period. But like 6,000 calories is so much food.
So broccoli is next to nothing, right? Calorie wise.
Yeah.
If he's eating chicken and broccoli, like, is that what he said? There was no rice. Oh no, he said potato. Did he say potatoes, or that was more in the peak?
He said in the peak. He just said that there was chicken and there was broccoli, right?
So 6,000 calories of chicken would be 6 kilos a day.
And
That'd
so
be just over 6 kilos. That'd be just over 6,000 calories.
what about broccoli?
Oh, bro, the broccoli would be negligible. Like,
I think it's important to put a number on this for how actually ridiculous like it is, right? So, bro, even 5 kilos of broccoli is only 1,700 calories.
Okay, so say 5 kilos of broccoli and about 5 kilos of chicken. So what? He's eating every 2 hours. Say that's 8 meals a day. Would that be 8 meals a day? Yeah, say around 8 meals a day. Because you're up for about 16 hours, sleep for 8 hours. So what? You're having almost, what, half a kilo a meal? Like a bit over half a kilo of chicken a meal.
That's just insane. It's just not going. It just isn't happening. You know what I mean?
So do you think it's more likely that he doesn't know how many calories he's eating?
It's more likely that he has no fucking idea with how many calories are actually coming in. And not only that, but also for a guy probably his size to actually be in a deficit, he's going to be below 3,000 calories. I'm sure of it.
100%.
So it just goes to show that, and this just goes to show back to like the methods where these celebrity coaches and trainers can't even fucking track macros correctly for whatever meal plan that they've given him, right? So he's obviously just following the advice of, whatever, trainer or whatever it is that he's got. He's literally telling him that this is 6,500 calories. Like, that in alone should be enough for you to be like, these protocols are fucking stupid. Like,
do we know who the coach is?
I'm not sure, actually.
We should find that out. Yeah, interesting. So, yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for Hugh Jackman because he obviously doesn't have any idea. I mean, he's not a coach, so
yeah,
whatever.
He's just following what he's been told.
Yeah. So everyone just like scrutinizes every single thing he says. But look, he's the one who did it, so he should know. Like, I mean, I guess he should just follow it, right? You would just follow it, but yeah, I wonder who told him he's eating 6,000 calories. I mean, even if you're eating, say, rice along with that,
That's still a lot of food.
You're still not dropping body fat on that, number one, and it's still going to be hard to eat 6,000 calories from just those three foods.
Unless you're literally a
'Cause
construction
I think he was
worker.
eating white fish as well.
Yeah. Unless you're a construction worker and you're literally doing fucking 25, 30,000 steps a day. But even then, that's still a
I
sizable
don't
amount
even
of food.
think then you would be able to do it, dude. Well, I've never seen it anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think I've had anyone drop fat on close to that.
No, neither have I. Because you understand how to track macros correctly and realize that 6,500 calories, you're not going to get that in from chicken and broccoli. Like,
So
you just not.
what do you think more likely he's on?
I think he's likely on closer to probably, I don't know, 2,000, 2,500. I think it's probably more likely because, look, realistically, he's probably only eating a normal portion of food, right? So it's probably only like 150 grams of broccoli maybe in that meal and maybe 150, 200 grams of chicken, right? So if you're sort of doing the math on that and maybe he was having a potato here and there, like I still think that's only between 2,000 to 2,500 calories. And if he's pretty active, he's on set all day, his expenditure is pretty high, you know, he's obviously training very hard, he's doing some cardio and stuff, then that's more probable.
Yeah. So to round this off, natty or not?
So am I allowed to just answer with yes or no?
No, because I wanted to look. I want you to. I want us to both expand on this, and I want you to take into consideration that he's 55.
Yeah.
He's obviously very famous, very rich. He probably sees anti-aging doctors, things like that. Is he on anything?
I think he was natural. Now
Yep.
he is probably on replacement testosterone and maybe a little bit of growth hormone and some other peptides.
But and you're saying at a replacement dose
At a
both.
replacement
For
dose.
both.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Look,
Very minimal, if anything at all. It's also a possibility that he may be completely natural. But I just think given his age and obviously financial status, his, you know, obviously a lot of his, I guess, business and whatnot, especially for roles like Wolverine, is he has to look a certain way, right? And obviously as you get older, training hard, you know, continues to get more and more difficult. You obviously, you know, run into injuries and niggles and all these different things which can sort of inhibit your progression. So I think the highly likelihood is that maybe over the last sort of 5 or 10 years, he might have started taking a bit of replacement testosterone and a little bit of growth hormone. That's my assumption.
Yeah, I think it's excuse me. I think it's definitely a possibility. And like you said, I think over the years, if his natural testosterone has started to dip, then I think it's highly likely that he has hopped on TRT. Now, has that had
I'll just say before I forget,
impact on the result?
I think another important factor here is you can clearly see there's a gap in knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So if you're looking at the likes of, and people won't even know some of these names, but you look at the likes of Philip Ricardo Jr., you look at Brian Whitaker, you look at, you know, top level natural guys
Doug
who
Miller.
are like around his age or slightly above, who are in phenomenal shape and have way more muscle mass and are more conditioned than Hugh Jackman. They have a lot of knowledge around how and what to do. Like, it just goes to show, like, poor Hugh doesn't even know how to fucking track calories properly, right? Let alone know what he should be doing to be able to continue to progress as a top level natural bodybuilder would.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think what he's done is very easily achieved naturally.
Yeah.
But whether he is on something that is just to replace, you know, the testosterone of him when he was 30 or something like that, which again isn't going to have a huge impact on the result.
Yeah.
Because you're just bringing level. I mean, you should be just bringing levels back to
Like physiological range.
physiological range. So you're going to have a small benefit there, but it's not going to be dramatic.
Also, I think another factor is just simply the fact that he's Hugh Jackman. He's a fucking busy guy. Like, he's not, you know, like those top level natural guys I mentioned before, they literally plan their entire day around in their training sessions, their nutrition. He's Hugh Jackman. Like, he's probably not
He's
maxing,
learning
he's not
lines.
crossing all
He's
his T's
fucking
and dotting
doing.
all his I's. You know what I mean? Like, he's fucking busy as fuck. So, yes, he's just going to take something that's going to allow him to probably look a little bit better than, you know, do all the additional things that most of the other natural guys would.
100%. 100%. All right. So we've established, could be natty, could be not.
If you had to guess, let's just say he's natural. Is he natural or not as of this very moment?
I'm gonna say yes, bro.
You're gonna say yes?
I'm gonna say yes, just because I do see a slight decline in the physique as well.
Yeah.
Do you see a slight decline in the physique from the other Wolverines?
I mean, yeah, maybe the ones 10 years ago.
No, like I'm saying, like, so one he did 5 years ago, for instance, I felt like the physique did look a little bit bigger.
I also think that, like, he is getting older now as well, and he's probably got more and more on his plate. He just went through a divorce.
Mm.
So I still think I'm gonna say no. I'm going
Okay.
to say no. Well, it depends on what your definition of natural is, because if you are just on replacement testosterone and you're replacing physiologically what you're producing naturally, then you could deem that to potentially be natural. But then also, as if you look at like the wider guidelines for what eligibility to compete in, say, natural bodybuilding, or whatever other sport it might be, which obviously have the Olympics, you can't use replacement testosterone, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no.
Interesting. Okay.
But I think his physique is 100% achievable naturally.
And I think that's the most important thing.
Beyond that is achievable naturally.
Yeah. I think that's the most important. So yeah, I think that's the most important thing to kind of get across, is that is a lot of people don't think that that's achievable natural.
Which is crazy.
Like that comment, the guy with the car.
Like the guy with the car, the first comment we read, he's like, this physique's just too good to be natural. And we're sitting here thinking like I've prepped fucking 20 guys for shows that look 10 times better than Hugh Jackman.
About shows, we've transformed a lot of people who look better than that.
Like,
and they weren't that young either.
No,
I've seen a few people that haven't been that young. So I think if he is, it might not even be needed. That's the.
I just think it's because it's Hugh Jackman, and he would be so busy.
Yeah.
Like that he doesn't have time to fucking meticulously manage all the variables. So I think if I didn't know that he was Hugh Jackman and it was just I was looking at some random guy, I would say yes. I would think he's natural 100%. But just the movie star lifestyle, how busy he would have to be, he's at meetings all the time, all this and that. I think that I'm going to say no.
All right. Guys, I want to know what you guys think. If you're watching this,
what do you guys think?
Comment below, because I want to know what the general consensus is for this, because it seems to be divided. Honestly.
Everyone's divided, bro. Everyone's divided.
Sick. All right, let's get into some questions, bro.
Yep, beautiful.
Where are our questions? All right. Question number 1. Chris, this is actually a good question. Who's put you through the most brutal workout?
Through the most brutal workout, okay.
I think this is a great question. Or what is the like, what has been, even if you put yourself through it, like, what's the hardest workout you've ever done, like, that you remember? And if a trainer who's put you through it, there's a trainer who's put you through it, but.
So I think, look, majority of my training, I tend to train by myself.
Yeah.
I just prefer to train solo, put my headphones in, but a lot of, like, in my earlier years, like my first ever training partner was as a Gutchin.
Yeah.
And fuck, we did
another great competitor,
national champ. Mm-hmm. We did some fucking crazy shit. I remember, I'm pretty sure I told you about, we did the
I know what you're gonna say.
8-hour arm workout.
Yeah.
So like back in the day, we had like Graham Barker was his name, and he's the owner of Essential Fitness in Mariba. And he was a great bodybuilder. Like, I'm pretty sure he like was New South Wales champ. Like, he had won a heap of things, right? Yeah. And he just got like a bunch of us like younger aspiring bodybuilders back at the time. He would have only been like maybe 17 years old. And he's like, oh, like, I'm going to put like an inch on your arms, right? So we all rock up on this fucking Saturday morning and we literally start with fucking Rich Piana's 8-hour arm workout. So basically it was like, I can't remember the exact specifics of it, but you would essentially do 2 exercises. It'd be bicep, tricep, you would do like 5 or 10, you'd probably do like 10 sets or something. I can't remember what the exact protocol was, but it was a lot of volume. And then you would rest for 30 minutes. And he'd cook us food, right? We'd be eating chicken in
How good
between.
is that?
And he would cook it for us and we would eat that and then we would sleep and we'd wake up again. And we literally did that for 8 hours straight, right? That same sort of protocol, it'd be like every like 30 minutes or something, we would just be doing the Rich Piana fucking 8 hour workout. I couldn't lift my fucking arms for a week. Like my arms actually shrunk. Like
They shrunk.
my arms actually shrunk. Well, because obviously there was so much muscle damage and I would have
What
been
did they
so
measure like
depleted.
a week or two later though? That's what I'm more interested. Once the recovery
Oh,
curve.
there was no sizable change, like no difference whatsoever. Um, and I mean, it's not surprising, but yeah, obviously back
How
then,
many total sets?
oh, fuck, I can't even remember what the exact protocol was to be honest, but it's basically just 8 hours of training arms, right? Not like full 8 hours.
Yeah.
That one just comes to mind. I still wouldn't say that's probably the hardest workout that I've ever done. Um, I would say probably one of the hardest workouts I've ever done was when I was younger. And for whatever reason, I just used to just fucking get off on doing crazy shit with like squatting for reps or deadlifting for reps or something like that. And I think there was one stage I was squatting like 140 for like 20 or 30 reps.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And I was also doing like deadlifts for like 20 reps as well. So like those sessions, like after you did a set, you were just fucked. Like the nervous system fatigue and the way that you felt, like you were absolutely just bodied after those sessions. Like they were good. They were good sessions.
Yeah,
What about you?
I think yeah, when I was younger, when I used to train at Bell Street Fitness, that was the first gym I ever went to, right? And this guy that I knew, he was into bodybuilding. He's the one who got me into bodybuilding. He took me in there. And this gym's just like Tony Lanciano from the ICN. He used to own this gym, right? Back in the
Oh,
day. This is in
yeah.
like the early 2000s.
You season member, VIP forever.
It was just all bodybuilders. The walls were filled with bodybuilders. It was like Doherty's before Doherty's was Doherty's, right? And yeah, I used to train with a couple of dudes there, and it's the high rep squats, man. 20 rep Widowmaker sets and shit like that.
Fucking brutal, honestly.
Fuck you, dude. So I did a couple of sessions. That was a notable one. One time I trained legs with one of my old coaches, Iad Malab. Awesome coach. He prepped me for a show. I think that was in 2017. And his approach to training is he's very focused on I actually got a lot of my training philosophies from him. You know, part of my programming comes from him. He's very focused on slow, like tempo training, huge mind muscle connection, and then kind of like progressing the weight from there. But I remember he took me through a fucking leg workout, dude, and it started with lunges, right?
Oh, if it ever starts with lunges, you know it's going to be fucking.
I don't know how many fucking lunges I did, set after set after set after set. And that was just like the first exercise.
Yeah.
Then we moved to fucking squats, and then there was a whole nother thing. It was just like super high volume, a fair bit of weight for the tempo, but just because you're moving the weight with such purpose. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and such
That
control.
after the session, like the muscles are just completely fucked. Completely fucked. And I remember getting like, I wasn't even halfway through it and I was dying, dude. I was fucking dying. And then he kind of started to mellow out the session towards the end, but we still finished it. And I just remember that was fuck. Another time, one of my old trainers from ages ago, and a close friend of mine, Arkin, he took me through a calf workout, bro.
Oh god.
And I hadn't trained calves in a while. Like it wasn't on my radar to be like I was just like
Do you reckon? I reckon some of the worst DOMs I've ever had are in my calves.
oh, bro, this is what I'm saying. I did calves with him, and like I wasn't like a training to be a bodybuilder at that stage or anything. And I remember I had footy on the weekend. Like, this was on like a Tuesday or something like that, and I had to take the week off footy because like I literally couldn't walk. They seized up, and I was just like out of action. Like I was just limping around for like almost 2 weeks, bro.
Mm.
Worst DOMs I've ever had. I guess that's how I kind of gauge the session on how I felt after, like you know, some of the most brutal sessions, how I felt after the session, and then the DOMs that proceeded after that.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I love those you know, the sessions from when you're a lot younger and more
Yeah.
naive. You don't know what's kind of, but it's just fun. Do you know what I mean?
You're just training literally for fun. That reminds me of like when one of my first mentors was a little Asian dude.
Mm.
He was like the first, I guess, bodybuilder that we had sort of come to Mariba.
Mhm.
And he was just like working on a banana farm. He literally came over from Korea. And he was just like this little, he was natural little Asian dude and like just had these massive quads, like just huge, right? And like probably for the final year that I was sort of living in Mariba, he really like took me under his wing. So I would train with him every session. I'd be there on time, like I'd be there on like right on because I was so excited to train, right?
Awesome.
And some of the sessions that he took me through, some of those leg sessions in particular, just absolutely brutal, right? And just like yeah, high rep squats, low rep squats, into leg press, into just like as much volume as you could handle. And these sessions would be 2, sometimes 3 hours long. Like we'd be on the leg extension for fucking 10 sets, and he'd be pushing it down as I'm fucking
Yes.
getting the force reps in there at the end, and like my legs after the end of those sessions, like I was just absolutely like fucked. Like I was just like so tired.
Where was he pulling a lot of this stuff from?
He just used to watch like a lot of YouTube stuff from Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler and a lot of like the IFBB pros. And look, he was a fucking pretty good bodybuilder himself. Like he was pretty big. Just used to struggle a bit with sort of getting into actual contest shape and like true condition. But phenomenal poser, like really, really good poser. This was sort of back when this was probably back around 2012 to 2013, where the conditioning standpoint was very, very different. Like, no one had striated glutes really. Like, no one had, just having some lines in your quads and some abs was almost enough, right? And his posing was phenomenal. Like, he was doing backflips on stage. He could do the splits, like super flexible
Wow.
as well. It was just a really, really good guy to sort of learn off. And he was, I guess, sort of one of my first like mentors, I guess you could say, that I probably like trained under and learnt a lot, particularly around how to train fucking hard with no matter what is like put in front of you.
Yeah. It's amazing how much the standard of conditioning changed from like 2010 to like 2016, 2017. I was
Yeah.
at my I was at my mum's the other day and she had this like she's got this photo of me from like my first show. And I looked at it like last week and I always thought I was like pretty shredded at this show, right? And I looked at the photo and I was like, what the fuck is this, right? It's like not good. Anyway, and I came second.
Yeah. That's just because the standard though, like that was everyone.
Yeah.
The standard for everyone has just gone so far this way that it's like the level of and margin for error is so small. Whereas back then it was just like, and that's probably the difference between old school methods.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what it is. Science has evolved and we know a lot more now. But that's it goes to the point that we've just been talking about, man.
Yeah.
100%. That's what it is. It's just the knowledge and science and the old school method just didn't yield the rock because I was doing all that shit.
Yeah. I never got injured. I was young though as
Exactly.
well. But fucking hell.
You did it. Your first prep was pretty
Oh, it was a shotgun prep. It was like I lost 20 kilos in like 8 weeks.
mm,
It was a shotgun
you
prep.
had a
Like
pretty aggressive diet.
I was doing fucking 2 hours of cardio a day. I was eating fish and fucking green beans, and like the only carbs I would have would be like 30 grams of oats or something pre-workout. Like it was fucked. I was in my first semester actually at uni at the time. And I actually did okay in that show. I still placed third, and it was I didn't even realize there was a difference between enhanced bodybuilding and like natural bodybuilding. And yeah, I ended up placing third, but I was fucking devastated because I worked so hard for this show, and I was like, fuck, I really thought I was gonna win. I ended up speaking to the winner after the show, who I actually become quite good friends with, Gurjet Singh. And he was the one who first introduced me to sort of like flexible dieting, 3DMJ, Eric Helms, those sorts of guys, and Lane Norton. And like, his conditioning was like nothing I'd ever seen before. Back then, it was like his glutes were peeled, was just crazy, crazy shredded. So yeah, it wasn't until I sort of had that moment there where I was like, oh, fuck, like maybe I shouldn't be losing 20 kilos in 8 weeks. Maybe I should be losing 12 or 15 over like 30 weeks, and that was really the change that made me bring the next physique to stage was so much better, and obviously placed a lot better and won a couple of shows then. And that was very, very different to, even just that shotgun prep, which was like, 12 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever. Because, your first show, everyone thinks, oh, I've got no fat to lose, you think it's all fucking muscle, and you realize just how fucking fat you were when you actually started prep.
Yep. You lose the first 10 and then you're like, fuck, I'm still.
Just first 10, you're like, oh, fuck, there's still another 15. Because I was over 100 kilos. Like, I thought I was huge. And even back then, even when I was actually, we talk about steroid accusations. Like, I remember back training in the uni gym when I was about probably 18, 17 years old. And I used to have people come up to me then and they were like, bro, like, what are you taking? Like, you're using a bit of this, using a bit of that. I'm like, what are you talking about? But I didn't even know you could, like, how to get it. I didn't even know fucking, like, what it even was back then,
That's so funny. All right. What's your advice to start again after a long break? Busy dad life in my 40s.
Yeah, so I think you need to just get a plan set to start with. Because if you've got no plan set around, what am I going to do here? Am I a bit out of shape? Have I let myself go a little bit? I think that the easiest way to get yourself back in shape, because that's probably the likely scenario, is focus on fat loss first, right? So focus on taking off 5 or 10 kilos, and just get yourself a plan of how you're going to get there. How much am I going to take off every week? Where am I going to, start my calories at? And then, what adjustments am I going to make along the way? And then you want to just make sure you're getting started, because if you're constantly putting it off and you're just thinking, oh, I'm just going to go back to the gym and train and see what happens, you're probably not really going to be making much progress. You have to have an overall plan for what I'm going to achieve over this next sort of 12, 16, 20-week time frame. And then you can build out your training program and then just get yourself started. You just have to get that day one going and have a plan to move forward.
100%. I think this kind of goes back to what we spoke about on a prior podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the last episode we had a similar question.
Yeah, but we did a whole topic on this, like the over 40s or 30s one. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, yeah. Look, regardless, you got busy life. You're a dad. So is so many people, and you don't. There's nothing like extraordinary that you need to do. There's not like a huge time commitment to get in decent shape. Honestly, like you can train a few times a week for like 45 minutes and just follow a reasonable diet. It's not gonna, like, the diet doesn't take any more or less time than what you're eating right now. It's just about getting to the gym, like say 3 times a week if you're a busy.
Just ask yourself, how many days can I realistically train? Because if you set a plan for it's like, oh, I can train 5 or 6, but you fucking actually can't. Just start with the minimum. Start with 3 and see how you go.
Yeah, you'll get very good results too. Like, it's not, you don't need to do anything special. But yeah, good question. Fuck, marry, kill.
I love these. So good.
Brad Pitt,
Why is it all dudes?
Ryan Reynolds,
That's
Ryan Gosling.
actually a fucking good one.
Bro, I'm going Brad Pitt. I'm marrying Brad Pitt. I gotta marry.
I'm probably marrying Brad Pitt as well. I think, yeah.
Now, you don't really want to fuck one of these guys, do you? That's not really. Is killing and fucking is kind of like on par for me, I guess.
I think physically, if I were gay, I would be more attracted to Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, same.
So,
Ryan Reynolds he is.
I like Ryan. I like him in Deadpool, but like, I don't really want to marry him, and I don't want to fuck him either.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Brad Pitt for the marry.
Yeah,
Ryan
Ryan
Gosling
Gosling,
for the good.
and I'm killing Deadpool.
Killing Deadpool. Yeah. Let us know what you would do in the comments.
That's such a good question. I love that one.
Talk about bulking and training programs and deload weeks.
Fuck, there's like a whole podcast.
That's a whole podcast.
Really?
Look, the training program doesn't really change too much. Maybe a slight increase in volume when you're bulking.
Yeah.
Deload weeks. Did you? I think Mino Henselman put up something about deload weights. Did you see that this week? A
Yeah,
study.
he's always putting up some clickbaity title with fucking
Yeah, I think
random fucking paper from butt fuck nowhere that he's
yeah.
talking his ass.
I think it was saying that 1 week is potentially too long for a deload, and then, I mean, this is just one paper, like you said, but and there was no, I think there was no like gain in like strength outcomes or something like that. Basically, what it was alluding to the fact that auto regulating your deload is a better idea than having a set deload.
Yeah,
When you,
I agree with that for sure.
yeah, I agree with that as well.
Yeah, so I think auto-regulating deloads is definitely the way to go.
It's
I mean, we can
based
probably,
on your life. It's based on what's going on at the time, and I tend to slot them in with clients at that point where it's probably like a good idea to do it, just due to what's going on externally as well.
and I also think if you're not training any more than 4 days a week, you probably don't really ever need
Yeah,
to
and we
be.
talked about that on another podcast as well, didn't we?
Like I talked about me personally, but also a lot of clients. Like if I'm training 4 days a week, I never need to deload. Like I feel good all the time, and my progression is very linear. It's very consistent. Um, if that is the case, we'll probably go through a whole nother podcast where we maybe go through how to deload, because in my eyes, there's probably like 3 or 4 different ways, depending on different phases that you're in and what, suits just your personality style the most. So it's just essentially a week of unloading, doing maybe half the volume, or whether that's a combination of rest and training, or you just do half the set volume and a little bit less load. But you can also do a devolume as well, which would essentially be keeping the load the same, but you would just cut the working sets back in half. So at the end of the day, you're still just halving the volume. Whether you keep load the same or combination of the two, it's essentially just a week of unloading.
Yeah, sick. Um, where can I buy the merch? It's not for sale. I've got something for sale actually at the gym. So,
Bro, where's my merch? We've got fucking
bro,
shows coming.
they've got no sizes at the moment. I've tried to put in an order. There's nothing that I can order, so I'm just waiting because I need to get uniforms for some of our new coaches as well, which has been
My hat coming.
nothing. They've got nothing. As soon as it comes up, if when you actually come here, I might have it. Like you'll be able to pick it up from the studio. But if it comes before that, I'll send it to you. But if not, you have a nice beard. Thank you. My coach told me meal plans are the only way to lose fat. Is it true?
No, definitely not. Obviously, meal plans are a way to lose fat, but again, I do use them from time to time. I think, when I'm originally setting someone up and I want them to see what a day of eating looks like at those specific macros, I will give them a meal plan so they know that, because, it's from someone that's got no experience at all. It can be very difficult to just go from nothing to just tracking macros, because they don't know, roughly what meals are going to go well together to fit those macros. So it takes a little bit of time to obviously, learn how to do that and play a bit of macro Tetris and stuff, but definitely not. And I think that from a long-term perspective, meal plans, you might be able to follow it for a little while, but you're not going to be able to stick to it indefinitely. So it's important that you do learn how to track macros, because you don't learn anything if you're just following a meal plan, right? You don't understand, okay, what actually foods make up for protein, fats, and carbs, and what foods are combinations of protein, fats, and carbs. And you don't learn anything about, okay, how many calories are in this 300 grams of potato, or, this 125 grams of banana. Like, you don't learn the things that you need to make this a lifestyle change for long term.
Yeah, I think it's good for the short term, bad for the long term. It's pretty much unsustainable for the long term. So good at the start to give you idea on structure, how to structure your diet. But if you don't then take it upon yourself to learn how to track, so then you can make it a long-term and sustainable solution, then you're ultimately going to run into issues because, yeah, as soon as you leave your coach or whatever, you still just have no idea what's going on. You just have that meal plan, and it's like
follow a meal plan for the rest of your life. Like, no.
yeah, you haven't learned anything. And I think the education part is very, very important. So that's what we try to do with our clients as well. We'll start them on macros along with an example meal plan that they can follow, and then the education process begins as they start to track. what else do we have here? Uh, do you
You
think
got one?
do you think
Yeah.
you need to have do you think you need to have competed in bodybuilding to coach bodybuilding?
I thought this was a really good question, actually. It's hard because, like, if you look at the likes of, say, a Hani Rambod, for example, he's
He's
never competed.
competed.
Has he competed?
Yeah.
I swear he said in a podcast he's never competed before.
I had this debate with Jack because Jack was trying to tell me he had never competed. I said he has competed. He
Yeah,
just was
right.
never a great bodybuilder. He
Yeah.
has
Okay.
competed though.
Okay.
It's
So,
hard to find photos. We dug deep into Google and I found them.
yeah, right. Okay. So, well, look, I think there's a few coaches that I know that haven't competed before that, look, are probably good, but I'm going to say I think this is a sport where you need to walk the walk and to be able to talk the talk, in my opinion. Because you just, when you're fucking that shredded that you fucking sit down, you can feel your asshole sitting on your chair, or like, you're walking around and the base of your feet pads are so fucking like lean that like your feet hurt when you're digging around. You wear thongs in the house. Like, just getting to that level and knowing how to, like, actually manage all the variables and manage what that person's going through from a psychological standpoint. And, also as well, like, I think I would never ask a client to do something that I wouldn't do myself.
Mhm.
Right. So if I haven't put myself through, different things and knowing where my like limits and stuff are for digging and pushing and obviously refeeding and all these different things. And I obviously use myself as an experiment with a lot of things, which I think translates over to the competition side of things as well. So I think, look, I think if you are going to go down that route, yeah, I think you probably do need to. You don't need to be necessarily the best bodybuilder, like. But if I look back to some of the best coaches, in my opinion, like say in natural bodybuilding, for example, you've got Cliff Wilson, doesn't have great genetics, but that's what makes him such a phenomenal coach. Is he still walks the walk, still to be able to talk the talk. So I think that, in my opinion, I'm going to say yes. I think you do have to have had competed in bodybuilding to be able to coach competitors at a high level, in my opinion. What do you think?
I think it's definitely beneficial
Yeah.
and probably you should,
Yeah.
but I still think it could be done without it and you still could be a very good coach, but you'd just have to coach a lot more people before you actually got like the hang of what actually happens. Because
Mm.
if you haven't been through it yourself, then the first competitor you coach, you don't really know what they're going through, but you learn what they went through after that prep. And then the next one you coach, you learn what they went through. So you are gaining experience, but it's just through a second party.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that will take longer to get that experience. Whereas if you've competed a few times yourself, I mean, you know how it feels, you know how every step of the way feels. You're giving yourself the feedback rather than getting the feedback externally. So I just think it'd take a lot longer to kind of understand what the client goes through. And I
You
even
know
think just competing once maybe is not enough either. Like just because
that.
every prep is different, you go through different things, you experience different things. So one prep you might be really busy with work, another prep you might not be, another, it's just a lot of
You
different.
actually know anyone that hasn't competed before that's like a fantastic bodybuilding coach?
Uh,
The only one that I know of that comes to mind is Joe Jeffrey from UK.
he's never competed.
Never competed.
I can't
I
think
don't
of.
know anyone else that can come to my mind that, because look at a lot of the gurus and stuff,
That's
like
what I'm trying to think.
they have all competed before, right? Like they all were bodybuilders, back in the day. They all, and I think it's almost a bit weird for someone to like want to prep bodybuilders if like you've never competed before, because it's sort of like, I don't know. I just find that a bit of a weird, because bodybuilding is a bit of an obscure sport in and of itself, right?
What
So
if
like
you're a female coach, a male coaching females, like bikini athletes? Do you need to have competed then?
I mean, the conditioning standpoint from the bikini, it depends. If it's ICM bikini, obviously the conditioning standpoint's a bit different. Look, I still think, yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's a bit of a tough question. I'm gonna say I still think you should have competed, because regardless, that person's still going to go through a similar thing. You know what I mean? Like the bikini athlete's going to go through a similar thing. So I'm still gonna say yes.
Because I think there is I don't know, there's like that older dude that coaches a lot of the pro bikini girls. I can't remember what his name is. I think he coaches Laura Lee now at the moment, and
Not Shelby Starnes.
no, not Shelby, the Death Doctor. He's actually, I mean, I think he's a good coach.
Yeah.
He's been a little bit unlucky with some stuff, but
I mean, I've seen some of his protocols. I don't know if it's unlucky or just the fact that
yeah, well, but I think, I mean, he definitely gets them into condition.
yeah,
I mean, whether it's questionable the
make
method
it.
he uses, but
If you make it to the stage, it's like what they say with Ronnie Coleman. If he makes it out of the fucking hotel room, he's gonna
yeah.
win the Olympia. But
Well, has Ronnie's coach ever competed?
Chad Nichols,
Chad Nichols, has he competed?
I'm not sure.
I don't think Chad Nichols has competed, bro.
I don't know.
I don't know. I've never seen it. I mean, unless it's, I don't think he has that I know of anyway. So I could be wrong though. Anyway, can you keep pushing cals up in a maintenance phase without any real weight gain?
So I guess look, if there is any weight gain, by definition, that would be above maintenance, right? So you'd be eating in a surplus. Now, that's not to say that at the end of a diet, when you eventually transition to maintenance and you start to see, I guess, some of the reversal and some of the negative adaptations that happen in dieting, which is why, you might go to maintenance and then you might see weight continue to go down, because you obviously now you're feeding yourself back up again. A lot of those things that slow down in terms of your metabolic processes, expenditure, output steps, fidgeting, all those things tend to go up a bit. So you might be able to marginally move calories up a bit, but eventually you're going to get to a point where you're out of that maintenance phase and you're into a little surplus, right? Whether it's 50, 100 calories, 150, 200 calories into a surplus, by definition, eventually you will be going up. But maintenance will change as well, depending on how heavy you are and where you are relative to the end of your previous fat loss phase as well.
Yeah, I think, look, it depends on the person because I think maintenance is a range for a lot of people, and just how big that range is just depends on how adaptive your metabolism is. Some people they have a wider range that they maintain their weight in. But again, a lot of the time you may not be actually maintaining your weight in that range. It's just that the weight gain might be so slow that you don't recognize it over a shorter period of
You
time.
need to zoom out by like 8 to 12 weeks and you'd be like,
Yeah,
oh, actually
yeah.
up a kilo or a kilo and a half.
Yeah, but it's definitely not like a number, like I maintain my weight on 2,500 calories. It's more like 2,500 calories to 2,700 calories or 800 calories. This is a maintenance range. It's not just one number. As soon as you're above that, you're gaining weight or losing weight. It doesn't work like that. And it's the same for weight loss as well. So
yeah.
Beer can. What does that mean?
Yes. I was talking to Daniel about this in the gym yesterday, and we're just talking about fucking shape and symmetry and structure in bodybuilding, and and we're just talking about how like some people can just be built like a beer can, like literally just like straight up and down. I thought it was so good, so fucking good.
Out of the two of you, who is the most likely to advise a client to do the carnivore diet? Definitely not me, and definitely not you.
Yeah, probably neither of us, to be honest. Like well, look, I mean, the only time that I potentially see it having utility and application would be maybe certain gut health issues or something. But look, I'm gonna say no. Yeah, I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, still. I'm just trying to think.
I'll never say never, but it's just typical with the carnivore crowd. It's just like it's such a problem with like sort of just the dissonance of things. It's like you can just be so certain that you think that something is correct and brainwash yourself into believing that to be the case, right?
Yeah. Chris, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
A lot of these carnivore guys have slightly upside down lipid panels, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of them claim that LDL, HDL doesn't really affect cardiovascular disease. What do you think about that?
I think that is fucking retarded.
So do I.
And simply down to the fact that, you can have skewing of blood work for a year or two. It's not really going to be the be all and end all. But when it comes to atherosclerosis and sort of plaque buildup in the arteries, these things take years.
Yeah.
It's like 10, 20, 30 years of, your lipid panel being sort of, a bit fucked up and things like that, because it just, the HDL is there to scavenge, like the LDL, right? So there's countless, like, people just like, they just do in the carnivore, they do this. They're presented with research, they do these ones. Vegetables, eat vegetables, they do this. Worry about my lipid panel, they do this.
Yeah.
Again, you'd be so brainwashed into thinking something to be a certain way when the overwhelming majority of evidence points in the opposite direction, that it's actually insane. And it's like, it's just this cult. And even if you look at like the likes of, like I say, a Paul Saladino, for example, right? Like, who was, I think he was carnivore MD.
He was
Like,
carnivore.
he eats fruit now and some vegetables. Like,
He just keeps widening the range of what he eats every time I log on to his
so
thing.
it's
I
like,
see something.
you created an entire brand and pigeonholed yourself into this one thing that's now like, you don't even do that yourself.
Yeah, and
It's
it's
like,
not
you
like
have
you
to
just
be
end up feeling like
open.
shit.
Yeah, you have to be open and willing to accept new evidence and accept, oh, like, there's literally an overwhelming body of evidence here that vegetables are a positive thing in every regard, right? Then they'll throw out these buzzwords like phytolectins and fucking, all this stupid shit that they don't even really understand, like, or even seed oils, for example, they don't even really understand, like the actual biochemistry of what's happening. It's just like, it's just crazy. It's crazy how this cult mentality that we live in with this social media, with the rise of social media, is just like, it can just be so boxed off to everything else. Like, just keep an open mind. Like, it's crazy.
Whenever I like post a video, like a reel about some sort of food, you'll get that fucking
Remember the
guy.
Eddie Lodabu one?
You'll get the guy with the car profile picture. You're poisoning yourself. Seed oils, this, that. What is your
Like, to the
stance
point
on
that I'm
seed
like,
oils?
are these guys honestly just trolling, or do they
No, I
legitimately?
think they just hear something and then they completely change their diet.
Yeah.
They probably, I don't fucking know. What do you think about seed oils?
Oh, I think that, to be honest, I think they're completely fine. Like, you look at a majority of the literature as a whole, like, it just points to the direction that they're going to be fine. Like,
Well,
we've been,
seed oils are polyunsaturated, right?
yeah. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just fucking one of those things, man. I'm just like, it's just really fucking annoying.
Yeah, they're annoying people, aren't they? All right. Well, that's the stance on carnivore. Um, how do you put up with me?
That was Johnny Sanchez.
Oh, what's that? I love Johnny. Such a good
No,
bloke.
he's a good lad. He's a good lad. When he dials in, he fucking dials in.
He's a
So,
good guy, man. Good guy. Shout out to Johnny. Um, when is the right time to compete in your first bodybuilding show?
I don't necessarily, like we're talking about before with, some of the mistakes, I guess, that we've made in the past. I don't think there is a right time, right? I think that when your life permits and you feel like you want to do it and you're ready to lock in and get it done, just get it done. I always say to every client that's a first-time competitor, the first season you do, there is the least amount of pressure and expectation on you, right?
Yeah.
Like, no one knows who you are. No one's talking about you. No one's like, talking about you in a positive or negative light. It's just like, you can go in and just fully enjoy the process. And I think there's no right time. Just pick your first show, whether or not you're 100% or not. I don't think it matters that much. Just try and improve, and then that way you've got a baseline for what you need to work on moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, look, as long as your life is in the right spot to do it, just understand that it is going to be a sacrifice on a lot of things. But I would have to say the first prep you do is almost the easiest prep you do.
I agree, because everything's so new and fun.
Everything's exciting, everything's new. And the thing is, like, you don't know what's coming. When you've done a couple of shows and then you go, okay, I'm going to start a prep, you're like, fuck, I know this part of the prep's coming. I know I'm going to feel this at this stage. And all this anxiety builds up in you because you know the pain you're about to go through, right? You know exactly how hard it's going to be. When you're just so naive and you don't know what the fuck's about to come up, everything's new, everything's exciting, and everything's kind of a bit more fun.
Yeah.
And then when you do hit the hard points, you hit them without knowing that this is the hard point, so you just don't have a lot of that anxiety around doing stuff.
There's
And
no
you just
pre-existing like.
got more you're just more energetic towards the whole thing
Yeah.
and more excited. So my first prep was one of my. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was. I remember, like in the last 2 weeks of my first prep ever, the one where I look like I was just saying is in my mum's thing. I remember my sister coming into my room. This is when I was living at home. Just couldn't get out of bed, man. Like I was just so drained. This was probably about 2 weeks out, and my food was so low, and just I think it was probably the worst I've ever felt on a prep. Second to maybe like second would maybe be a prep I did like in 2010, but oh man, my sister's like, "Are you all right? Like, what's wrong?" I just can't like move. I literally can't even move, dude. So it was probably one of the at the same time probably one of the most brutal preps I ever did, just because I mean using old school kind of methods and stuff like that.
Shorter time frames, more aggressive rate of loss, a lot of cardio. Yeah.
But at the same time, like I didn't know any different, and yeah, I don't know. I just still feel like it was one of the most one of my best preps, to be honest, in a lot of ways. So,
I think you do at least need to have a bit of muscle though, right? Like
yeah,
you can't just want to see a show and be like, oh fuck, I want to do that if you've only been training for say 6 months or a year. Unless of course you're a genetic phenom and you respond very well to training and you've put on a lot of size. But I still think you want to spend a good decent amount of time at least building your physique before you make the decision to, actually go down that path.
look, yeah, I'm talking more from a mental
Yeah.
perspective, psychological, but yeah, that's obviously another thing you want to consider, what you actually fucking look like.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have muscle, then
But generally, if you are going to be someone who'll be successful in competing, you'll have people around you, like in the gym or this and that. They'll start saying things like to you, "Oh, maybe you should think about competing," or like this and that. If no one's saying shit to you, and like no one like is looking to you, asking you for any advice or just little bits of this and that, you probably don't have the development you might think you do. So I think just make sure you understand what you're getting yourself in for, and but yeah, once you're in it and you've decided you're going to do it, just have fun, man. Just have fun with it.
yeah, 100%. If it's not fun, like
Yeah.
it's gonna ultimately be a fucking pain in the ass if you don't enjoy it. I can tell you that much. If you
My
do it
last
for
prep
the
was
wrong
not enjoyable.
reasons, it's gonna be a massive pain.
My last prep was fucking not enjoyable whatsoever.
But I feel like you were. It wasn't enjoyable. It was not enjoyable because you didn't love it.
What do you mean?
Like you like bodybuilding. You like
Oh, yeah.
training for a bodybuilding show. But I'm saying like some people do it for like they see a bikini girl look awesome on stage and they just want to look like that.
Mm.
But then they've got no idea what actually goes into it, type thing.
Yeah.
And I think it can be a big shock to some people. So
It can be a shock, especially. Look, if you get yourself a coach who in your first season has like obviously super high expectations of you, and maybe you have high expectations of yourself, you need to be prepared to go through probably pain unlike you've ever experienced before. The lethargy, the hunger, the fucking just constant self-doubt, like all of these things like really will play on your mind, because getting in, like we talked about, in our first shows, we'll probably miss the mark a bit from today's conditioning standpoint, but like, yeah, it's very, very different when you're like, you look at Troy at the moment and he's like nearly in shape, right? Like it's a whole different ball game when you're at those upper echelons of like low amounts of body fat, and just like being able to, I think with bodybuilding, I don't think it gets easier either, but I think you get more experienced at handling what it feels like to feel that way.
you don't get in as bad shape in the off season either.
Yeah, so it makes it a bit
That
easier
helps.
as well. Yeah, definitely.
Usually your first prep, you need to lose the most.
And then in my
And
first
and you have the least amount of muscle.
yeah, my first rebound, I put on like fucking 10 kilos.
I think I put on like 10 kilos in 2 days or something.
Fuck, it's just crazy.
I just
Eh?
didn't stop eating, dude, after my first prep.
Don't
Forward to.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't ever put yourself in a position where you end up just fucking eating anything and everything.
The thing that fucked me with my very first prep as well is when I was prepping, I entered the Max's challenge.
Yeah, I remember you saying. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then I put on 10 kilos within 2 days after the show, and then I remember Fred Liberatore from Max's gives me a call. And he's like, "Mate, you've been picked for the top 10. We want to get you in for like these photos and stuff like that." And I was like, "Fuck, mate, I'm not even close to the mark right now." And I remember I had like four weeks to kind of get it back, and it was fucking hard because mentally I'd finished my prep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just wasn't in the headspace to diet, but yeah, I had to. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might wind it up there, Chrissy boy. I think we've done all the questions. Guys, if you have any questions or anything like that, just DM them to us or
Or if you want any specifics in terms of topics covered,
yeah, you can
let
just
us
comment
know
below on the
what you
YouTube.
think is relevant and what you want to hear.
Yeah, sick.
Maybe even some segment ideas potentially for.
Yeah, segment ideas.
That'd
Anything
be
you
good.
guys want to hear, just let us know. If you guys want to start some awesome coaching and you want to make a transformation of your own, go to www.strengthlabmelbourne.com.au. You can inquire there. And if you want to follow Chris as well,
Coach_Chris Black.
I'm never gonna remember that. So, and
Just my
also,
name, coach in front of it.
and also follow us at Strengthlab AU on Instagram. That's it. We'll see you next week. Yeah.
We'll be back next week. We're back on the weekly now that I got my office back, so we'll be good to go.
Yeah, Chris has had no office for the last 2 weeks or so, so it's been a bit hard. So we've been dying to get the episodes on, but we just haven't been able to. So we'll start pumping them out from now on, guys. All right. Peace.